What's good, y'all? It's Stinger, and today I'm going to be showing each and every one of you how to make some analog emotional beats for Mr. Quarter Pounder with Bacon himself, Travis Scott. So without any further ado, let's just get right to it. All right, so here we have our beautiful beat, and the first thing that I'm going to be breaking down is the melody. So when it comes to making analog Travis Scott beats, a great plugin to use is Analog Lab 5. Within this plugin, there are a bunch of different instances of some classic hardware synths that are perfect for making these kind of beats. The only thing that kind of sucks about Analog Labs is that it munches on the CPU like crazy. So with that being said, the first melody is using the dim light preset, and this is what it sounds like. It's a pretty basic melody, but we're going to be adding some things later on that make it sound a whole lot more interesting. But first, let's break this down. So the first thing I laid down was this chord progression going from the 1 to the 3 to the 5 and to the 7. In terms of the chords laid down, it's really standard. Most of them are just basic triads with the exception of this one, which is a 7th chord. So let's move on to what I did next. After I had the chords laid out, I transposed the melody a little bit to keep it within a small range. Before, this is what the chord progression looked like, and I took down the 5th of this chord, and then I also took down the 3rd and 5th of this chord. So this is what that sounds like. Now there's not really a whole lot of movement in this chord progression, so I added in a top line, which I'll be going over next. Alright, so here is the top line I added to complete the melody. I've said this in many videos before, and I'll say it again. The best way to make top line or lead melodies is to work in reverse. And what I mean by that is to know where you want your melody to end up. So right here, I wanted these two notes to transition into the 2nd chord. So I wanted it to end up on the A4. So all I did was add these two notes to transition from the C sharp to the B to the A. A good rule of thumb when it comes to making transitions is to use notes in the scale that are one note away from each other, hence the A and the B. And the same rule applies for this second section. I wanted this whole section to lead up into the first part of the melody to build some resolution. And yet again, here we have it going from the B to the A. So now that we've got the first melody out of the way, let's move into the second portion. Alright, so the second melodic component that I laid down is this dark pad from Analog Labs, and this is what it sounds like. This just adds a little bit of background ambience, and I also put on a phaser to give it a little bit more movement. Alright, next I laid down a lead melody using the In Memoriam patch from Omnisphere, which sounds an awful lot like that song from Avatar. So this is what the top line melody sounds like. To get this, all I did was toy around on my MIDI keyboard before I found a small little phrase that sounded good. And after I had that, I just repeated it throughout the whole melody, adding in some transition notes and variation. Alright, so the next part of the melody that I have is the Not So Soft patch from Analog Labs, and this is what it sounds like. To get this, all I did was take the 5ths of all the chords and just threw them here. That's a super simple method if you want to create some harmonic components in your melodies. And after that, I have this super gritty bass from Analog Labs yet again. And this is what it sounds like. And the last component of this melody is the Acid Rain patch from Analog Labs, which is a really cool art. And this is what that sounds like. On that, I have Pancake 2, which is a free panning automation plugin, and I'm just having it panned left and right to give it some dimension. So this is what all the melodic components sound like all together. I had to render it all out because, like I said, Analog Labs just completely eats up my CPU. So this is what it sounds like. Alright, now that we've got the melody out of the way, we can move into the drums. The first part of the drums that I laid down is this super unique 808. I wanted to take some inspiration from Sicko Mode in the sense that it's using a super obscure sounding 808. And this specific 808 is from my Terminus 808 kit, which includes 100 custom 808s. So, self-advertising aside, this is what it sounds like. For that, I just have it playing all the bass notes except for this last note. I have it playing the 5th of the chord but pitched down an octave. I use this just to transition into the first note of the 808. Next, I laid down this super simple kick pattern. And yet again with some more self-advertising, this kick is from my Hive stash kit, which you can get for free in the link in the description. For this beat, instead of having a clap, I wanted to have a really tight, punchy snare, so I laid down this snare from Cody and Chemic's Essential Kit. And I have that layered with another snare yet again from Cody and Chemic's kit. After that, I laid down some hi-hats playing a pretty basic 2-step pattern. I have it playing on G#4 because I wanted the hi-hats to be pretty low in pitch, and then I also have the velocity varied to give it some realism. Also for those hi-hats, I have the shift knob up a bit. What it does is it shifts the notes slightly off beat, and this gives a great bounce to your beats. After I had that laid out, I threw down this open hat on the downbeat, as well as this acoustic open hat. After that, I laid down this perk, and then I threw down a second perk. So this is what the melody and the drums sound like all together. I would go more in depth on the mixing of the drums and the melodies and the master as well, but this tutorial is already going to be long as is. So if you want me to make a separate tutorial covering how I mix and master my beats, let me know in the comments and I'll make that and reference it in future tutorials. So with that being said, that's going to pretty much cover how to make an analog Travis Scott type beat. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.